Hello everybody and welcome into the Brickyard Indianapolis Motor Speedway for tonight's edition of the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Last week we were at the World Center of Racing Daytona International Speedway, where in a thriller of a finish and a penalty, we saw Nathan Meyer be crowned your race winner. Tonight, another crown jewel as the drivers look to take on the Brickyard here in the trucks. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Qualifying is complete. The drivers are getting ready to get going on this historic racetrack. With that, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. The man on the pole, the number 71 of Trey Whitehead, puts down a 51.939 second lap. On the outside, it'll be Brandon Cooper in the number 54 truck. Back in row number 2, James Harris starts on the inside in the number 55 with last week's winner, Nathan Meyer, to his outside in 4th. How about in the 5th spot tonight? It'll be Tyler Meeks in the number 7 with Jason Nethery to his outside in 6th. John Legger rolls off from the 7th spot here tonight, and it'll be Harley Barletta making his first start of the season in 8th. Brock Whitehead rolls off 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is going to be the 56 of Brad Thacker. Moving on back to row number 6, in the 11th spot, it'll be George Young with Kevin Ward to his outside in 12th. Moving back to the 13th spot, it'll be Bryce Rayner in the number 99 alongside Robert Wynn in 14th. Moving on back to row number 8, it's going to be Sheldon Pearson alongside Chris Logan. And back in that 17th and final starting position here tonight, it's Charles Whitehead in the 51. All right, looking at your race info tonight, very similar in some ways to what we saw last week. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, massive oval, 2.5 miles in length, and a very fast racetrack at that. The big difference is you're not going to see quite as much bump drafting. Definitely not through the turns. Not too much banking in the corners here at Indianapolis. But notice turns 1, 2 are separate. Turns 3 and 4 are separate. They don't blend together quite the same way they would at other tracks we go to. So it makes for a very interesting racing line that we'll see here tonight. Distance we're going to run 50 laps. That breaks down to 125 miles. 100% fuel for all these trucks here tonight. 2 sets of tires in the pits. You do have that one fast pair if you were to need it. Fixed setups as always. And 2 green-white checkers. Sunny in the Sin, 71 degrees outside, and a 93 degree starting track temp. So a little bit on the warmer side, but not necessarily hot. Don't think grip's going to be too big of an issue, at least more than it normally would here. Now again, we'll say that this is one of those tracks where it's kind of a one-groove racetrack. We see a lot of drivers kind of find that line early on, battling it on these restarts before they start to simmer things down as we get longer into the run. But for Trey Whitehead, big opportunity here tonight in that number 71 truck. He's looking for his first win of the season, and he is not alone. A lot of other drivers looking for opportunity, including Brandon Cooper, by the way, making his first start of the season here tonight. Well, everybody talks about wanting to win at Daytona. It is a crown jewel, but you know what else is a crown jewel? The Brickyard, and that's where we are here tonight. Pace car is off. Field rolls up to the restart zone for the first time here tonight. And just like that, we are green and racing at the Brickyard. And already the field fanning out further back. But up front, they single file out pretty quickly, and it's Brandon Cooper who comes out the winner as they work their way down the backstretch for the first time here tonight. Cooper trying to take away any sort of clean air for the trucks behind, but James Harris able to pull up just a little bit right there through turn 3. And everybody continuing to battle it out and try to settle for the positions fourth on back. Now, it'll be interesting to see how quickly the packs start to separate. One of the similarities that we will see to Daytona is what I just mentioned, pack racing, but it's a little bit different here as the tires are new. Drivers are able to stay close enough in the corners and use that draft to pull right back up to the rear bumper of the truck in front down the straightaways. However, as run goes on here and tires wear out, you're going to see those gaps start to increase. You're going to see these packs start to separate, so it's important early to try to get up and stay with the lead pack. Right now, Harris and Cooper still battling out for that lead position. Looks like Harris thought about making a move to the inside, but he's going to hold off for the moment. Able to dip the nose just a little bit lower, trying to get a little bit of extra downforce over the 54 as they work through turn 3 and 4, but he's not going to be able to have enough of a run to make a move just yet. Single file now through about the top 15. We saw Nathan Meyer already making his way up towards the top 3. He qualified 4th, still sits there at the moment. Able to fend off some of the charges out back on the initial start. Tyler Meeks, he's had a couple of podiums so far this season, looking for another one here tonight. And then John Legger, one of the fan favorites, currently in that 6th position, already up a position from where he started this race at. He continues to chase after that 7 truck. In fact, why don't we stop here? It'll be our first onboard view of the night for John Legger. The driver out of Boston, Massachusetts. So far, so good here tonight. And for Legger, the speed's been there really all season, but hasn't been able to catch too many breaks. Still looking to see if he can grab that first podium here tonight and try to maybe get the momentum swinging in the right direction for him this season. But again, John Legger making ground up here early, as is Brock Whitehead. Currently up 2 positions from where he started this race at, now up to the 7th position where he currently stands now. Harley Barletta, first start of the season for him as well. And he's got a beautiful looking paint scheme. The number 31 Tide truck currently sitting just ahead of Brad Thacker. In the 9th spot, Bryce Rayner, another one of the favorites. Pretty much any style racetrack we go to. Currently in that 10th spot, up 3. And if you remember for Rayner, a little bit of a disappointing end, if you will, for him last week. He was leading on the white flag lap, tried to make a block. Things didn't work out, and Rayner got crashed out. Never had a chance to finish that one, so he knows that while he's still going to be a contender, that certainly hurt his chances and points a little bit, especially when you consider the run that obviously Nathan Meyer had getting the win. Being in that championship battle, certainly going to make things a little bit more difficult for Rayner as he looks to lock in a win here tonight. Further back, we're seeing even more separation as we pull up the track map now and some telemetry here to show you just how fast these guys run around this 2.5-mile oval. And again, if you think about the Brickyard, Indianapolis, you probably thought about Indy cars running here in the Indy 500, but it is a very popular NASCAR track, and certainly one of the favorites to see put on the schedule for this season. I know a lot of guys were excited about it, and you can see why. Look at the speeds that they run down the straightaways here. In the draft, you're well up to 100 and almost 90 miles an hour, especially on new tires. And down through the corners, drop off 30 to 40 mile an hour just to try to make it through a pretty much single file groove. Talked about really not going to see too much racing as the run goes on, at least in terms of side-by-side battles. Very momentum-heavy racetrack. You got to set your move up, and you got to make it happen down the straightaway into the next corner. If you can't do it, though, and you start trying too much, you're going to wear out your tires. Certainly another thing to have to watch out for. Lorraine and Indy, good to see you in the chat tonight. Lorraine says, let's go John Legger, and welcome back, Harley. Happy belated birthday, Harley. Well, hey, there you go. If it is, I don't know if he's watching the broadcast tonight or get the chance to, but Harley, happy belated birthday from us here on PGR eSports as well. Wishing him a good run here tonight. And Indy Super Colts says Nathan Meyer going to win it again. Well, he certainly has a good opportunity to, sitting in the top 5 at the moment. Good chance for him tonight. Courtney Harris rooting on the 55 of James Harris, who has now switched over and taken the lead away from the 54 of Brandon Cooper. I was just getting ready to get back up here and start talking about these top 3. And lucky for us, 2 of your top 3 here tonight are carrying driver cams. And so we'll kick things off first here with the man that is out front leading the way, James Harris in the 55. There's the onboard view for the driver out of Texarkana, Texas. Of course, for James Harris, already finding victory lane once this season. Looking to see if he can do it again here tonight. And then we transition back a few positions, and we find Brandon Cooper, who we talked about making his first start of the season tonight. And I'm not sure if those tires are starting to fall off a little bit or if he decided to save a little something. But certainly losing those 2 positions, and the gap's starting to stretch just a little bit now. For those first 2 trucks, about 3 to 4 tenths of a second on Brandon Cooper with the way they stand. The other big thing to watch for here tonight is as they do get into a long run, what starts to fade, the rear tires or the front tires? Will these guys start to transition to the tight side or the loose side in terms of handling? Field rocketing down the front straightaway here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 8 of 50 laps complete. And if you're just tuning in, you are watching the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Battle for the lead may be heating up, as is the battle for that 4th spot. Tyler Meeks all over the back bumper of Nathan Meyer right now, trying to figure out a way to get around him. But he just hasn't been able to do so yet. Further back, looks like is that maybe John Legger who briefly tagged the wall there? I think it was. Or certainly got really close to it. That's going to allow both the 31 and the 99 to sneak by. And for John Legger, he's going to have to settle now. Back into that 9th position, down 2 spots from where he started this race at. Brad Thacker still rounding out the top 10. Nethery, Young, Robert Wynn, Kevin Ward, and a few others. Now starting to fall a little bit further back in the field. In fact, separated by almost a half a track from the first to last truck on track. Chris Logan not a lap down, but certainly way off the pace at the moment. Not sure if he had an issue or maybe something that happened right at the start. But again, not in danger of going a lap down yet. He might be, though, by the time we get to green flag pit stops, if this thing is to stay green. Harris still up front, well in control, and trying to sneak away. Half a second, the gap between him and first and second. But another change of position here for the 54, Brandon Cooper. He fell back 2 spots. Now he's picked up 1 back. The 54 moves up to second. And the question now is, can Cooper find a way to get up here and try to track down your leader, James Harris? You can hear these guys, a lot of throttle time, especially through the second half of the corner, turn 2 and turn 4. But notice what James Harris is doing. Some veteran experience, and another thing that kind of these guys may be taken from the IndyCar side of things. With these long straightaways here, breaking the draft can certainly be a tool in the toolbox tonight to try to help yourself maintain the lead until the tires wear out. Oh my goodness, what a save. Trey Whitehead with a wild slide coming through turn 1. But he saves it. Are you kidding me? Trey Whitehead with the save of the night. With only 10 laps complete, watch this for the 71 truck. Oh my goodness, this should have been a caution and a destroyed race truck, but he somehow holds on. He's coming through the corner here, just trying to run a little bit extra low. He's got the left sides going below the white, and oh, he got some of the curve. That's exactly what happened right there. That is an unbelievable save. He did that at 170 miles an hour. Not only did he keep it off the outside wall, but he also kept it from going down into the inside wall or collecting any of the traffic going by. I mean, I know it's a video game, but that's a pretty much video game save if you were to think of one here for Trey Whitehead. Look at this. So he drops the front tires onto the curb, and obviously that difference in less banking versus banking going the other way doesn't stabilize the truck too well, and back end starts to snap, and look at this. I mean, four-wheel slide. Look how close he gets to the wall. Finally able to drive it down and save it at the end. That might be one of the saves of the season for Trey Whitehead, and he's still up here fighting. He only fell back to the 5th spot, and just like that, he's brought it right back to the rear bumper here of Tyler Meeks. And he's going to be looking to see if he can pick up that position here, maybe going through 3 and 4. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it that time. Back towards the front we go. Harris still trying to break the draft. And you see the 54 now. What he wasn't doing a couple laps ago, he is now doing, and that is trying to follow that snake of a draft down the straightaway, doing whatever he can. As, by the way, showing track temp as we saw cloud cover briefly. Not going to do anything for cooling track temp down, as it is currently about 4:30 sim time, and track temp actually just jumped up a degree, now sitting at 94. And as far as green flag pit stops go for these guys, I would think they could make it at least right around to the lap 30 marker or so here tonight before we would be talking about that green flag pit stop. You're only going to need one, and obviously you would take 4 tires and full fuel on that one stop, but it will be interesting to see if there's a little bit of strategy in terms of either short pitting or potentially pitting a little bit later. I think that the window itself to make it to the end is going to open up right around lap 30 is where we had to jump the camera back. That was a close call right there between the 16 of Robert Wynn and the 48 of George Young. Looked like Wynn maybe got a little bit tight on the inside of the 48, had to catch it, drive it up the racetrack. And I mean, you think about one of the things that's so difficult at this track, it's already such a tight, narrow racing groove that when you get a truck next to you, you're already tight, and they're just taking in any more side force that you would have had regularly off of the truck. So it just makes it so hard to try to make that pass happen when you're kind of stalled out through the corner. That's why you heard me talking about you really got to try to set it up to make it either going into the corner or finishing the move before the end of the straightaway. Man, James Harris, he is looking really, really good out front right now. I mean, continues to stretch this gap now by about a 10th or so every single lap that goes by here. And he's got to be feeling pretty good. There's the time delta, and the big thing to notice is that generally speaking, that yellow line for Harris is getting longer and longer each and every lap, indicating that the time delta between himself and second place Brandon Cooper continues to expand with every lap that goes by. He's got it up to now just over a second on the number 54 truck, who continues to play chase, and I'm seeing a couple trucks getting closer and closer, and there's one actually getting into the safer barrier. That's Brock Whitehead. I was just getting ready to say I'm starting to see more and more trucks get closer and flirting with that outside wall. Brock Whitehead, though, really struggling as that truck gets tight on him. Rayner's going to duck to the inside. He'll break any side draft and pull clear, and now one of the 61's teammates, Trey Whitehead, will do the same. So we see actually a little bit of damage there on the front nose for Brock Whitehead, most notably on the right side of that truck, from where he made contact with the outside wall. Certainly going to affect the aero a little bit at a track this fast, and he may be getting ready to get passed by a couple more, as both John Legger in the 19 and the 31 of Harley Barletta are going to try to see if they can make this pass happen here. Going down towards turn 1. There's the 31 going to jump to the inside here. Got to make it happen with the run going into the corner. Let's see if Whitehead gives it to him or tries to race him for it. Yeah, just nothing Whitehead can do. Tires don't have enough grip for it out there, and he has to concede not just one, but potentially 2 positions here, as Legger's going to look to the inside through turn number 2. And Legger will get that spot as well. So the 61, a good day goes bad here pretty quickly as he falls from about inside the top 5, actually running almost 4th, to now back almost outside of the top 10. He's got to try to regroup here and either get it to a caution or get it to the green flag stop without doing any more damage. Back of the field, Chris Logan currently just working off the turn 2 as James Harris works off at turn number 4. So still a pretty good amount of distance before we'll be talking about any lap traffic and how it could impact this race. But again, if you're just tuning in, you are watching the Grindstone Developments Truck Series Indianapolis 125 here at the Brickyard. 16 laps complete, all of them green so far. and a couple of lead changes, but it was third place qualifier James Harris who has gotten the most recent lead change and held it ever since. From the 54 of Brandon Cooper. Nathan Meyer still hanging on to that third spot at the moment. In fact, actually picked up that spot here from the 7 of Tyler Meeks, Bryce Rayner, Trey Whitehead. All still inside the top 6, and a couple battles to watch right now. And this is one of them. Trey Whitehead, Harley Barletta, and John Legger all kind of running nose to tail. I think that Trey Whitehead's got a lot of speed, but just looks like he's overdriving that truck. And, oh, you got to be careful here. He's got a really shallow entry. Got to hope that that truck doesn't step out too much on him. And, man, it's getting really loose as Bryce Rayner's going to bring it in for a pit stop here. Boy, what's this strategy call for the 99 Bryce Rayner, and way earlier than what we would have expected here. I'm not sure if he just really didn't like the handling on that truck or if he had a separate issue. You do notice a little bit of damage there on the right front. We'll see if he decides to get that repaired here. Now, again, lap times almost 50-plus seconds here. In fact, they may be over 50 seconds, so you get a lot of time, but now it looks to me right there like Rayner just decided to go ahead and take the fast repair, and that may have been why he pit early. Felt like he was losing too much time with some damage that he may have had. And so the call is going to be 4 tires, full fuel, and he will quickly take that Team Conti Sim Performance Toyota Tundra back onto the racetrack. James Harris just now coming off of turn 4, so the 99 should not have to worry about losing a lap. I think the bigger questions here, can he make it to the fuel window? Talked about it opening on lap 20, but 17 to 18 is certainly pretty close here for Bryce Rayner. Right now, his concern is getting up to speed. That's the other big thing that you got to do here, is take the access road off of pit road, and no banking down there. It is all flat, and it is narrow. Very tough to get the truck up to speed, but it looks like Rayner's finally able to do so. And he will blend out a couple hundred yards up ahead of James Harris. With the fresher tires, you would think that there shouldn't be any problem trying to hold him off here. The only thing I'd say here is if you're James Harris, if you can stay just close enough to pull a little draft here for even a half a lap or so, certainly going to help him increase even more on that 2-second gap that he's currently got over the 54 of Brandon Cooper. And it'll be 19 of 50 laps complete when they cross the line this time. And I'm looking out back, and it just seems like I say these guys are getting tight, but at the same time, the back ends are really starting to wiggle around. And I want to go back to that onboard view for James Harris. Watch how much wheel he's putting to the right in this truck. Coming off the corners. I mean, last lap, we saw him through 3 and 4. He was almost probably 30 degrees with the wheel to the right just to get that truck to turn for him. You see him kind of have to do it again there off the corner. So it definitely seems like the rear tires are what's going first for these guys here tonight. We'll see if anybody decides to make any sort of pit strategy similar to what Bryce Rayner did to try to account for that. Although I don't think short pitting is necessarily going to be the answer. Lap times do fall off quite significantly. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. There it is, 54-1, 54-4 for James Harris over the course of the last 2 laps as your leader in clean air. But you go back to Bryce Rayner, and this is his first lap on fresh tires. And watch the time that he's going to run right here. 52.5. That is almost 2 seconds worth of fall off just in the course of, well, 20 laps. I mean, we still technically have 10 laps that these guys could run in a fuel window here. So that tells you how important tires are. Maybe Rayner does have a little bit of a strategy call here. By pitting early, who knows? Maybe he can come out in front, play a little defense, catch a timely caution. Anything that could potentially help him out in strategy tonight. Certainly seems like a good possibility, as now Harley Barletta and John Legger have started to create some distance between themselves. Legger is still in the 6th spot. Harley Barletta up 3 positions from where he started this race in 5th. Brock Whitehead is back in the 7th. Trey Whitehead 8th. So good to see Brock able to make a little bit of recovery here after struggling quite a bit there over the last couple laps. And for Trey Whitehead here, I think he just needs a new pair of Goodyears. Watch how much wheel he's putting back to the right out of the corner here. I mean, this is what you expect to happen in the long run, and, well, that about answers that question. Whitehead's had enough. He's going to bring it down to the pits here. As you see a brief lockup in the rears, but able to hit the downshift with no issue and get that truck down to pit road speed. But I think you're going to start seeing this for a lot of the drivers that are really struggling with rear grip here. Bring it in, get a new set of tires, and try to manage it a little differently. It gets tough. Every lap you're out there, when you're sliding that bad, it makes that exponentially worse. The next lap, Trey Whitehead, he started dropping like a rock, so he figured it was time to come in now, take the service, and see if he can manage these tires for the next 30 laps or so to finish off this race. So you see the right side go up, followed by the left side. Back up front, James Harris, no sign of a pit stop just yet. And I almost think if you're the leader, number one, and if you're the leader with this big of a lead, number two, you're going in last of everybody because you want to be on offense with the freshest tires. And you have a gap to play with now. You don't want to go in too late. You obviously want to be able to utilize those somewhat newer tires than what everybody else would have to a degree, but I just think if you're Harris, you go in early and open the door for somebody else to make a charge late. Wouldn't be the right decision when you've got an almost 3-second gap. Instead, make everybody else go in first and then go in knowing that, well, you'll probably come out with a lead, but even if you don't, you're going to have the freshest tires and be able to go make the most moves that you want as we close in on the last 25 laps or so of this race. Brad Thacker, he's bringing it into his pit box. He'll take 4 tires and fuel. As further back, we see the 16 actually with a little bit of nose damage, it looks like there for Robert Wynn. I'm not sure exactly what he may have got that from, but it doesn't look like he's going to take the fast pair. Instead, he'll make his way out of the pit stop. Nope. Actually, he had to stop. I'm not really sure what the issue here is for the 16, but he was in a halt in a different box here for quite a while. Watch this. Not sure if he had... I'm not really sure what the issue here was for the 16. He's got some pretty significant damage. He must have hit something here. In fact, we're going to drag this back a little bit. See if we can figure out what the problem was here for the 16. Oh, it's coming into the pits. And I wonder if this is him getting loose or if he meant to go in here. Let's see. That's a tough one to tell from there, but just way too hot and plows into the back of Brad Thacker. That would explain how he got some rear end damage. And unfortunately for these two, that's not going to draw a caution. That may have given Thacker a speeding penalty as well, and if it did, doubled a tough break for these two. But the 16, it's just hard for me to tell there. I think he gets loose. And then just, I mean, by the time he gets it down there, there's not much he can do. He's trying to check up, and he can't just yank it back to the right. There's a big pit separator wall there. Definitely unfortunate, though, for Brad Thacker, who was kind of minding his own business there, trying to make the pit stop. Could potentially end his chances at a good finish here tonight. Trey Whitehead trying to get by the 24 of Nathan Meyer, not currently for position. Whitehead just looking to see if he can get his lap back here. As actually looks like now the 71 is going to maybe work with the 24 right here, pushing Nathan Meyer down the backstretch to get a little bit closer to the 55 of Harris. By the way, Brandon Cooper making his pit stop. He was the second place running truck before coming in for tires. And so now if you're James Harris, you're waiting on either your teammates to pit or you pit at the same time with your teammates. Either way, the man at second, Nathan Meyer, still 4.5 plus seconds back from the 55 of James Harris. Tyler Meeks, Barletta, and Legger still all back here, have not made a pit stop yet. And a couple trucks did go a lap down. Trey Whitehead, one of them. So you wonder if Whitehead maybe got a penalty. We know Thacker did, and Robert Wynn, obviously, with the collision there and some damage, he certainly lost quite a bit of time. Looks like he has fallen 2 laps at the moment. Here's Brock Whitehead in the 61 making his pit stop. And I believe Brock Whitehead, one of the multiple drivers that we see in the field weekly that is on Whitehead Racing. For Brock, boy, another driver who came so close last week at Daytona. Felt like it was a track that he really prevailed at, and fortunately things did not quite work out at the end. Brock also with a pretty close finish earlier in the season. Some of the tracks that we went to, I know that he's been having a pretty good time so far with the way the season started for him. First season in the Grindstone Developments Truck Series, and you look at what he did going all the way back to Las Vegas, where he was able to grab the win over Casey Sprinkle. So he's got to be feeling pretty good here tonight, knowing that he's still got that win on his shoulder. So we officially see just 25 laps to go, and pit stops continue here from the Brickyard, but with James Harris up front and nobody anywhere close, it's looking like the 55's race to lose. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back, and we will be here through the finish. Stick with us. We'll be right back at the Brickyard.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway with the Grindstone Developments Truck Series in the Indianapolis 125. Before I bring back to full screen, I did want to show everybody the schedule, just as we like to do weekly, to keep everybody up to date on where we're headed next. And next week, it's going to be off to WWT, also known as Gateway. And that'll kick off a series of more technical tracks, at least for a couple weeks, as after that, we'll head off to Lucas Oil, IRP. Looking forward to that short track before heading back to one of the mile and a halves at Kentucky, and then a road course in Watkins Glen. 2 short tracks, and then Darlington and Atlanta to finish off the season. So in terms of crown jewels, I look at Darlington, and certainly that's the other one that really jumps out. So I'm sure a lot of drivers looking forward to that one. Meanwhile, the man that we're most concerned about on track right now is indeed the 55 of James Harris, because he is the one at the moment, it seems like, will win this race if it stays green. And I know that's the key term, because a caution can certainly change everything. But for Harris at the moment, currently in that 4th spot, that is just because he was waiting for a few guys to finish their pit stops, and that's going to set the stage for both him and Brandon Cooper to go at it for the rest of this race. And for Cooper, remember, he did pit about a handful of laps or so before James Harris, so he got that fresher tire advantage, which was kind of allowing him to really run faster for those laps, and now has got him leapfrogged ahead of James Harris for the moment. They're separated by probably about an 1/8 of a straightaway or so. And if you want the breakdown on that, just under 3 seconds, the gap between them. So unfortunately for Brandon Cooper here, I don't think that he's going to be able to necessarily outrun Harris, at least not for another 20 laps. What he can try to do, though, since he's out in front, is at least play a little defense, conserve tire now, and play some defense when Harris gets to him. And again, just try to hold on to that track position for as long as he possibly can, but ultimately, just don't think that this call was going to completely work out. But hey, you got to do it. I mean, I like what Brandon Cooper decided to do here. If you're not going to beat him on the track, you got to try to beat him in the pits, and that's exactly what Brandon was going for. It just doesn't look like, at least, it's going to quite work out. Same deal here for Bryce Rayner, who's currently about 2 seconds ahead of Brandon Cooper. And in fact, this is interesting. You see the 51 there snaking the draft a little bit. That's Charles Whitehead. I'm not sure if he's trying to avoid going a lap down. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, I was going to say, it looks like he's racing in 4th position. And it's not 4th position, but it is to not go a lap down. That's arguably why the 51's racing him so hard. But back to the matter at hand, the 99 not going to be able to hold on to this lead the rest of the way. It's closing pretty quickly now. As you notice, the 54 of Brandon Cooper has now closed into within a second. James Harris still about 2.5 seconds back from the 54 at the moment. With all these trucks draft training off of each other, that certainly plays a role in how quickly certain guys will catch each other. Bringing that track map back up. Everybody spread out. It's a 2.5-mile oval, but just looking at the track map, you would think we're on a Bristol or a Martinsville with how much spread there is between the field at the moment. Definitely makes the chances of caution less likely, but James Harris right now, his first concern again is going to be trying to track down the 54. Once he gets there, then obviously the main concern shifts to hoping this thing goes green the rest of the way. Who knows though, maybe Brandon Cooper does have a little something left in the tank. I just think that eventually the tires are going to start to go. We'll see if he decides to work with Rayner here for a moment to see if he can keep those two a little bit further ahead. Either way, if he is able to get by the 99 of Rayner, Rayner will act as a little bit of a pick to the 55 of Harris once he gets there. As looking at that gap now, almost down to 2 seconds between these lead two. And man, for Brandon Cooper, he really did not catch the 99 at a good spot there. That trimmed off almost half a second of the gap that he had between himself and James Harris. That's not what he needs to happen right now. 17.5 laps to go. I just don't think that there's any way he's going to be able to hold him off at the moment as he continues to catch. I want to mention what the point standings are looking like after last week. We talked so much, and if you've listened to the previous seasons, you've heard me mention this before, that a lot of times it's all about consistency. You don't have to be the winningest driver, but if you are the most consistent, you're not getting in wrecks, you're finishing all the races in good spots, you're going to find yourself near the front of the point standings. And guess who leads? One of the drivers with no wins this season. That is Tyler Meeks. Currently 2 points ahead of everybody else. And you know why? Because he's consistent. His average finish right now is 3rd place on the season. Think about that. He is averaging top 3 over the course of the races that we have had so far. So even though he hasn't won, has himself on the top of the boards in regards to points. And then second right now in the points, no surprise here, is James Harris with a win on the season. Nathan Meyer second. Tied for second, I should say, in the points. He's also got a win on the season. That came last week. Brock Whitehead currently 4th in the point standings. Rayner is 5th. And then Nethery on back, still all battling it out. Try to break into the top 5 for the point standings. Obviously still a fair amount of the season to go, so a lot of things that can happen, a lot of things that can change. But you start looking at those drivers that already have one win in that column, and once they start getting more than one, that's where it seems like the points can start to run away pretty quickly. So James Harris is looking to be the first multi-win driver of the season here tonight. But he continues to work. He's trying to track down that lead truck, the 54 of Brandon Cooper. What a great battle this could be once he gets there. These two, obviously the fastest 2 trucks of the night in terms of long-run speed, at least from what we've seen. 54 Cooper, though, decided to go with a little bit more daring strategy call, pitting a little bit early. Now he's going to have to play some defenses for at least Harris as he continues to close. We'll bring up the time delta and show you what it's done here the last 5 laps or so. That's between Harris and Rayner. We want to go up here to Cooper and Harris, though. And there you see it. Notice how that yellow line's getting shorter and shorter each and every lap. Now it's gotten a little bit less short over the course of the last 2, maybe 3 laps, so maybe not closing quite as quickly as he was. But once you're within 1.5 seconds of the truck in front, you start to get a little bit of a draft. And once you're in that draft, it's really hard to shake that guy, especially if he's on fresher tires. So I got to think that over the next course of the next 2 or 3 laps, 55 is going to really start to pull up towards the rear bumper of the 54. And you see him start to close it down to almost 1 second as they rocket down the back straight away. Bryce Rayner still holding on to this strategy the best he can, currently in the 3rd spot, getting chased by Nathan Meyer. If you look at it from Rayner's point of view, if he felt like his finishing position wasn't really going to be that good anyway, I mean, you might as well try. Was able to go in and get that damage fixed, but certainly definitely seems like it's been, I don't want to say a rough start, but an unorthodox one for the 99 of Rayner, who we were so used to seeing just dominate all of last season just about. Of course, it was open setups, and we know that Rayner works with one of the best setup shops out there, so a little bit of an advantage there, but I wouldn't say that's the issue because we know Rayner's got the speed fixed or open setups. It's just not gone his way. It's really the best way to put it. So going to try to change that here tonight. 13.5 laps remaining here at the Brickyard. Brandon Cooper continues to lead, and as we see Harris close up before he gets there, let's go run through the rest of the field. Here's Meyer making the pass on Rayner. That's going to be for that final podium position. Rayner No real fight left to give, so Nathan Meyer takes that spot with ease. Tyler Meeks back in 5th. Harley Barletta 6th with John Legger 7th. He's currently getting chased by the 71 of Trey Whitehead, who also pitted early and just still seems to be struggling a little bit with the handling of that truck, especially on exit of the corner. See how he gets tight, and as soon as he tries getting throttle, he just gets loose. Definitely not been the night that he's wanted so far. Brock Whitehead back in 9th. It'll be George Young currently in 10th. Jason Ethery 11th. Sheldon Pearson 12th. Chris Logan 13th. Charles Whitehead 14th. Kevin Ward back in 15th. And you notice here for Charles Whitehead and a couple of others that we are seeing the leaders start to close in just a little bit on them. Speaking of closing in, Harris is just about there. He's going to have the move to be made as we show you both of our driver cams here tonight. Ironically, they are the 2 leaders, and if you're Brandon Cooper, this is about what it feels like here from the gearbox view. Just that truck getting bigger and bigger in your rearview mirror each and every lap. And Harris, he's getting a big draft, and he's showing a lot of patience here. He's not overdriving the truck trying to catch up to this 54. He knows he's got the better tires and just trying to work with it. As, oh man, tough break further back. Looks like we just saw a pit stop here from, I think that was Bryce Rayner, who brought it in, and that's obviously going to cost him here quite a bit of track position. And Rayner had been having a solid run there. I thought he was going to be good to go to the end, but not sure if he just didn't like the way the strategy was working out or if he had to pit here again. Either way, going to bring an end to his night. All right, back to the backstretch we go, where the 55 Harris now within 0.2 of a second on your leader, the 54 of Brandon Cooper. Oh, he's looking. Is he going to go here through turn 4? He's going to try it. 54 is going to have to play defense on the outside. Who gets the momentum down the straightaway? James Harris, man, that truck just turned so good for him right now on the bottom, and he was still able to get the better run. Not only through the corner, but onto the straightaway, and he's going to actually get clear. 54 wanted to try to prevent that, but he couldn't do it. James Harris, clear, your new leader at Indy with 11 laps to go, trying to get his 2nd win of the season. And if thinking of 54 Brandon Cooper here, yeah, he's got to realize, I know he wants it back, but I just don't think he's got enough left. Now he gets into the outside wall. At some point, you got to just kind of bail out of it and try to minimize the damage. He's got a great 2nd place run going, especially for this being his first race of the season, and he's got an almost 3.5 second buffer on 3rd place Nathan Meyer, so don't overuse the truck here. Trying to catch somebody on fresher tires. He's going to try to work this thing back home, but Meyer in 3rd, Meeks in 4th, John Legger in 5th, and really all of the top 5 separated by a pretty good margin. But Legger's fighting back here late, breaking back into the top 5, and the way it's working right now, I'm looking back here, Harley Barletta currently in the 6th position, up 2 spots from where he started this race at. Trey Whitehead 7th. You've got Brock Whitehead back at 8th, George Young 9th, and Jason Nethery rounding out the top 10. Speaking of 10, just 10 laps to go now. Breaks down to just 25 miles remaining here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. James Harris tries to cap off a dominant run here so far tonight. I think the only real time that there was maybe a little bit of questions for him tonight was the pit strategy and trying to catch back up to the 54, but he stayed patient, kept going after him, and eventually got there. He's able to make the pass without any trouble. Now he will officially see the flagman hold up single digits. Just 9 laps to go here at Indianapolis. Further back, you see the 24 Nathan Meyer trying to draft up here. If he can keep on the pace he is, he's got it down to about 3 seconds. He could maybe think about trying to catch up to the 54 Cooper, making it a 1-2 finish for teammates if he can get to that 2nd spot. Tyler Meeks, though, still way back, almost 8 seconds behind Nathan Meyer in that 4th spot, so I don't think that that's really going to be any change of position there. Obviously, a caution could still change all of this, but with each lap that goes by, and really you can see it on the track map, there's just too much separation for there to realistically be a caution. As we look at weather and track temp again, and notice that track temp has actually cooled down a few degrees, as we are now much later sim time than what we initially started at. The 51, Charles Whitehead a little bit loose off of turn 4 right there, as he continues to try not to go a lap down. So just 8 laps remaining now. And by the way, for James Harris, if he is to win this race, just based off of where Tyler Meeks is currently running at the moment, you do a little bit of basic math here, and I believe that he will indeed take the lead in the points standings. over Tyler Meeks by, it looks like 1 point if they were to finish where they are now. If Meeks moves up a spot, they'd be tied, and if Meeks falls back a spot, well, then obviously that would change the circumstances a little bit as well, but the 54 is now falling back to about a second and a half behind the 55 of Harris. Cooper, just not much left in his Dixon Chevy Silverado. Nathan Meyer in the third spot, still up 1 from where he started this race, but your biggest movers tonight have been Harley Barletta, George Young, who have both made up 3 spots, and Sheldon Pearson, along with Charles Whitehead, who have both made up 5 spots where they started this race at. And I'll tell you what, we've also seen a few trucks have to retire from this one. Thacker's out, Whitehead back to the pits. Not sure what his issue is here, but I think he's going to call it a night. Chris Logan, I believe he is multiple laps down. Sure enough, 2 laps down at the moment. Robert Wynn was able to get 1 of his laps back. He is now back to 1 lap down. Kevin Ward a lap down as well, and Charles Whitehead going to be the next man in danger of going a lap down. Harris, though, has not been able to catch just yet. They're going to be coming to just 6 laps remaining. And they crossed the line this time, and we talked about fall off. Remember what those guys ran on new tires? It was right around 52.4 or 52.4s, and they're right back to 54.3s, 54.4s. So definitely very surprised at how quickly tires fell off here tonight. And a little surprised at the handling issues for some versus others. I mean, we've already seen the cockpit view a couple times for Harris. We'll go back to it, but what's so interesting to me here tonight is how loose he's been, but he's looked so controlled through that looseness. Just using the throttle to perfection here to get that truck to drive off the corner, maintain some momentum, even when it starts to get a little snappy on him. I think that may have very well been the difference maker here tonight, at least for the 55 of James Harris, who goes for his 2nd win of the season. Now currently finds himself just a handful of laps away when they cross the line this time. If you're just tuning in, or if you've been tuning in all night, we appreciate you being here. Hope that the driver you're rooting for is going to get a good finish. And again, we appreciate you being here with us. See who's going to get crowned a winner here tonight at the Brickyard. The 51 of Whitehead, you see him still trying to break up the draft. He doesn't want the 55 getting by him in case there is a caution. He wants to stay on the lead lap for any way he can, I should say. And that'll be the other interesting to see here if you're the 55 of Harris. I mean, how much do you want to put him a lap down? You're going to have probably about a 2.5 second gap between you and second place once you get to the 51, if you get to him in time. And you got to ask yourself at some point, is it really worth passing him? Or if you're not really losing any time, you just kind of take it easy behind him and ride around until we get to the checkered flag. That'll be the big question here that James Harris has to end up deciding on. For Nathan Meyer in that 3rd spot, I mentioned him potentially having a chance at catching up to 2nd place Brandon Cooper. As it stands at the moment, they're separated by right about 2 seconds, so Meyer has been able to get it down. As the 54 got wicked loose. Chris Logan's going to get a run, not for track position, but what that will do is help the 24 of Nathan Meyer close that gap now even more, as he's got it down to almost 1.5 seconds between himself and Brandon Cooper. James Harris is loving seeing that in his mirror. If he can still see him, he's already made up over 2 seconds worth of gap, so they may be pretty small rearview mirror objects at the time, but any sort of racing that he can see out back, the better. He sees the 54 sliding. He's saying, come on, Nathan, put some pressure on him. I do not want to have to worry about it. Meanwhile, back up front, the 51 actually going to go up into the outside wall here. Charles Whitehead, who had been trying to not let the 55 get by. Once he got there, though, kind of subsided, if you will, and submitted and let him have that spot. The only thing that you kind of worry about right there is, did he get any damage when he got up into the outside wall? I would assume that he wouldn't give too much fight to really anybody else out back now that he's lost that lap. But with just 3 laps to go here, I think that the main thing James Harris wants is that white flag to try to make this race official. The quicker this race becomes official, the less he has to worry about anything going wrong. It'll be a race just between himself. As they go down the back stretch, the 24, Nathan Meyer, you can see him trying to close there, but just don't know if he's going to have enough time. He's got that gap down now to still right around 1.6, 1.7 seconds or so. As further back, we give you one more look at the rest of the field, which is more than spread out now. I don't know if you're going to find really 2 trucks at least battling for the same track position anywhere on the racetrack right now, as this race is going to potentially go flag to flag under green flag conditions. We've had quite a few cautions to start the season in a lot of the races we've been to, and a lot of guys accrediting that to the fact that it is fixed setups and everybody's a little bit more equal. But here tonight, everybody came to play in terms of making sure they had some practice, know how to keep these trucks under control. We saw a lot of good racing at the Brickyard. Didn't disappoint for James Harris. Now just about a mile and a quarter away from making this race official. And he wants nothing more than that right now. The 55 going to send it off into turn 3. You look out back and look at the gaps. No lap traffic ahead here for James Harris. This is all about just making sure that he gets this thing around one more time when he crosses this time. And crowning himself a 2-time winner this season. Down the front stretch, Flagman with the white flag in the air. 1 lap to go here at Indy for James Harris, trying to win his 2nd race of the season. And a little bit of a different look for the 55 here tonight. Trying to take his champion paint scheme into victory lane. And I mean, really, I think the story for James Harris last season, and even the season before, was all the short run speed he had with the Team Watson Racing setups. And even though the short run speed was there, he was getting beat in the long run. Things changed this season. We went from open setups to fixed setups. And one of the other things that changed was his ability to keep this truck running fast on the long run. Here tonight, he dominated early, he dominated in the middle, and he dominated late. He didn't get to win it at Daytona, but he's going to win it at another crown jewel anyway. He'll get to cross the yard of bricks one more time, and this time he is going to do it as a victor. James Harris wins it at the Brickyard. 2nd win of the season for the 55 team. And this is going to propel him into the points lead as Meeks finishes 4th. But on the podium, it's Brandon Cooper getting a great 2nd place finish in his 1st race of the season. And it's Nathan Meyer who takes home that 3rd spot, getting back-to-back good runs for him after winning last week. What an effort and what a performance tonight for the 55 of James Harris. So he brings it by the spectators, and he'll go burn it down. Across the start-finish line. And I know that may not have been nearly as exciting per se as what we saw last week at Daytona, but it was still a phenomenal race. And again, these guys went flag to flag under green flag conditions here tonight. Here he is, your race winner, James Harris in the 55, going to bring it around. And he is going to burn it down. Nathan Meyer going to come to a burnout with his teammate, and as he continues to celebrate, we're going to take a look at your finishing results here tonight. Again, James Harris is your race winner, 2nd win of the season for him. It's Brandon Cooper taking home 2nd, Nathan Meyer in 3rd, Tyler Meeks in 4th, and Harley Barletta rounding out the top 5. George Young takes home 6th, John Legger, good run for him tonight, finishes in 7th. It's Brock Whitehead in 8th, Bryce Rayner 9th, and Jason Nethery rounding out your top 10. Sheldon Pearson finishes in 11th, Charles Whitehead 12th, Kevin Ward 13th with Robert Wynn in 14th, and it's Chris Logan finishing back in the 15th spot, Trey Whitehead in 16th. Brad Thacker rounding out the field tonight, he finishes in 17th. All right, well, as we see the 55 going around for a backwards lap celebration, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Indianapolis. All right, we're going to kick things off first here tonight with your race winner, James Harris. James, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
I sure do, Austin. How you doing?
Good. Well, I see you're still celebrating, man, but you get the win here tonight. And first off, it's a crown jewel track. It's the Brickyard. It's one of the hardest tracks to win at, and you made it look easy here tonight. How'd you go out and dominate like you did?
Man, this is one of my top 3 favorite tracks and one of my top 3 best tracks. I really love Pocono as well, and this track is pretty much just 4 tunnel turns from Pocono, and that's one of my best corners in iRacing. So I don't know, man. I can't describe it. I love this track. I love the way it drives, and I'm always usually really good here.
You were certainly really good here tonight. Now, obviously, kind of a different race in the sense that we saw so much of a green flag run. In fact, we went flag to flag green. Going into the race, were you kind of expecting that? Did you have to change your strategy around when we didn't get any cautions for so long?
No, my strategy was I had a green flag strategy, and then if we got a caution, I would just go and play it later, see what happened. But I was really expecting some early cautions, at the very start of the race when we were bunched up, because it's the trucks are really loose on cold tires. But I'm proud of these guys for having a good, clean race, and it was a lot of fun.
Certainly was. Well, it's your second win of the season, and it looks like this is going to propel you into the points lead for now. Still a lot of races to go, but do you feel like this is where you wanted to be at this point in the season?
Oh, yeah, running good, getting some wins near the top of the points. You kind of want to have that as a buffer, because we do have that one drop race. So, you want to be as high as you can near the top, because we got some short tracks coming up. We have a plate track to end the season. So, I mean, anything can happen, and the points are pretty tight right now. So, I think it's going to be a good, fun, competitive season. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Absolutely. Well, James, we appreciate you talking to us tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank my lovely wife, Courtney, for supporting me and watching my races. She's sick with strep throat today, but she's still in there being a trooper and watching. My son, Cooper, he's watching as well, I hope. I want to thank Grindstone Developments. I want to thank Champion Power Equipment. We got our Champion T-shirt on tonight. Was also GCM and TKC Construction. I want to thank Kevin Kersher, Blackstone Management. And, man, it's a fun day. Good race.
Indeed. James Harris, congrats on the race win, and we will see you next week.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, there you go. James Harris, your race winner tonight at the Brickyard. Now that brings us to second place finisher here tonight. A great run for the number 54, and that is Brandon Cooper. See how he's feeling after his performance here tonight. Hey, Brandon, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Copy.
Well, you finished in the second spot here tonight. First race of the season for you. Got to feel like a pretty good run, but, man, what more do you think you might have needed there to try to catch the 54?
Man, I needed to stop burning that right front off, dude. Oh, my goodness. I could not save a right front for nothing.
Well, maybe not, but you still managed to, again, bring home a really good finish here tonight. Now, we saw a couple of track position changes for you, especially in that first run. You fall back to third. You get back up to second. How hard is it to try to save tires here, and were you able to manage it better on that second run?
I would say it's pretty hard to save tires here. Even like the second run, because I figured maybe I get close to, maybe, be behind James after the cycle, or maybe even be in front of him. I even tried to run it a little easy, and even running it easy, it wore my tires out. I don't know. It was probably something I was doing wrong, but saving tires tonight just did not feel very feasible. Like I said, I was running slow after that pit stop, and I still got my door smoked off, man.
Well, even so, again, it is a podium finish, so certainly a good momentum night for you here to kick things off. So before we let you head out, is there anything that anybody you want to thank or shout out?
Just Whitehead Racing. I race with them every week, and other leagues as well, and they're always there. They're always ready to go, ready to practice, and we learn from each other. So without them, I wouldn't even be here. So,
Brandon, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the second place finish. We'll see you next week.
See you.
All right, there you go. Brandon Cooper, second place finisher on the night. That'll now bring us to your final podium finisher of the evening, and that is last week's winner, Nathan Meyer. Hey, Nathan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you finish on the podium tonight after winning last week, and really it was a consistent night for you. Maybe not the fastest truck you've had all season, but certainly seems like you're able to stay out of trouble and keep the truck near the front.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence in this track. It's not something I run very often or like. Kind of has that Pocono vibe where if you miss up a corner, your whole lap's slow. But yeah, did good enough to finish third, so good points day.
Yeah, it certainly was. And speaking of points, it's so close right now between the top 5. And, obviously this track was one of the crown jewels, but we look at the upcoming schedule and it starts to get a little bit more technical for the next couple weeks. We got a couple short tracks, or at least a technical track followed by a short track. How do you feel about your chances at Gateway and Lucas Oil?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about Gateway for sure. I won a race to win the championship a couple years ago on that track, so looking pretty good. Those tracks are always fun. I love short track racing, especially with this group of guys. So, just keep maintaining the pace, and the wins will come.
Absolutely. Well, Nathan, before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out to James for winning this race. Team Watson Racing 1-3. Thanks to Kevin and Grindstone Development, and thanks to you guys at PGR for putting this on.
Absolutely. And Nathan, thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on the third place finish, and we will see you next week.
See you, man.
All right. That's Nathan Meyer, and that is going to round out your interviews here tonight. And apologies for the background going black. They're not sure exactly what happened, but it appears that maybe iRacing decided it's ready to wrap things up here tonight. Well, hey, good timing because we are as well. It was a great race at the Brickyard, a phenomenal win for James Harris. Next week, it's off to Gateway. Looking forward to that. As for tonight, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.